Well, hello everyone. Wow, you guys look like an interesting spread out audience. If you don't mind, can I take this and capture this moment on my Snapchat? You know what? Let me share this on my LinkedIn. Update my status on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest. Should we all tweet? Yeah, I should tweet this too. Okay, let me see. Oh, the hashtags. Hashtag tech inclusion, hashtag shook, hashtag lit, hashtag SFMom, hashtag Muslim, hashtag you get the point. Hello, everyone. I am Reshma Haider, and I'm here to share my story of navigating the tech startup world with the three strikes against me. I feel honored to share the stage and the journey around diversity and inclusion. And I'm really thankful for the organization to host such a panel to bring people like myself up here and share the start of my interesting journey. It all began with me being a Muslim. As you can see, it's very obvious. I'm also a mother of 6 children, married to a tech executive, and happen to be, I know this is not the right emoji, but I'm happen to be belonging to the community that's called Mature Over 40. And that constitutes the 3 strikes against me, because in the tech industry, these 3 things do not let you join. And it's obvious by now that I'm a Muslim. Those of you who took time to read my long bio may wonder why it was so much information about my background. Actually, it was a mistake. I wasn't supposed to put that bio in. It was a bio created for a board membership that I was trying to apply for as the only female. With all that bio about me being born in Saudi Arabia, belonging to India, Pakistan, and being a diverse person, I never made it to the board. But you guys all get to read my bio. And but interestingly, I actually have been in the Bay Area for the past 27 years. I'm a San Jose State University graduate. Go Spartans. Anybody from San Jose State here? Oh, cool. And I am a tech executive, founder of a company called MyFam. Thank you for that introduction. And I just moved up the rank in my life by becoming a mother-in-law. So I have 2 more daughter-in-laws in my life. So technically, I'm a mom of 8 kids. And anyone here from the 80s, Generation X? Cool. So you know, we are the generation that is actually sandwiched between the aging baby boomers and the Generation Y, Generation Z, Generation Millennials, and the Generation Centennials. And it's a really tough thing. And I'm here today because I have actually enabled, by raising the millennials at my home, to communicate using interesting tools and connect with this generation. The generation that's actually on the tech scene all the time. And here we are in 2017, and let's look at the tech scene, especially in the Bay Area. We see that predominantly it is a male-dominated culture. Most of the tech companies prefer hiring male engineers from highly well-known companies, from high Ivy League schools, and high degrees. Although the fact is that more than 50% of the jobs in the tech companies do not necessarily require this kind of factor, whether it's gender or the qualification, because a lot of these companies have what we call positions in sales, HR, research, marketing, and a lot of these jobs actually benefit a lot with the experience that one brings with the age. And you go figure why these factors are not considered in hiring. Besides that, there are issues involving people that are reaching the age of 40 and expected to retire in startups or in tech companies. I really don't understand why that issue is there, but I like to reflect on an interesting quote that I read in Malcolm Gladwell's book, that if you would like to be an expert in your skill, you have to put in at least 10,000 hours in order to become an expert. And who else better than the age 30, 40 to actually build in that skill set and bring in that experience in the company? And I love that quote because I would like to remind all the youngsters that I work with that it is an important thing to look at. But for me personally, the most important part is the stereotype that is associated for people like me being a Muslim. And this strike, at least, is pretty much self-explanatory. If you live on this planet, if you live in America or in the world, and if you have news, if you have social media, there is no way that you cannot know about Muslims. We are in the news as I speak. Muslims are everywhere. There's Muslim ban going on. There is stereotypes against Muslims. There's so much going on that it behooves me to not bring up this topic, that unless and until we have platforms like Tech Inclusion, there's no way that we will connect and come close to understanding who Muslims are. And that's the reason, one of the main reasons I actually switched from my career in financial services to becoming a tech startup and having a tech startup. And I started MyFam, which stands for My Integrated Family Network. The aim was to have a secure, private, functional home on the net. And the reason was that in financial services, I had an amazing career. I was a multicultural expert. But every time I did sale pitches or organized events with 3,000, 4,000 people in the Bay Area, most of the sale contracts went to my male colleague. And I found it very interesting that every time I was pitching products, most of the customers who were families wanted to know more about how to raise kids, how to connect with their kids, how to communicate with the millennials, because there was a disconnect. And that's what led me to starting MyFam with a co-founder. My co-founder happens to be another Muslim who doesn't cover like myself, but she was a mom of 3 kids. We both were very qualified to start a startup, and at the same time, found a problem that was literally existing everywhere. The problem of communication, not a single private network for families to communicate safely, make the internet and the technology that surrounds us useful for the families. And as you can see by the report on Minor Monitor, there were serious issues with the security, privacy of content that was being displayed for minors. My co-founder and I decided to jump in and look into the factors and start this company. As it goes, there's never a wrong or an incorrect attempt to start a company, and we decided to jump into that. With so many mentors here, we followed all the proper protocols, registered it, had a good logo, made very incorporating all the inclusions and diversity. We looked at the research. I have an example of Facebook here, and it's pretty profound to know that in 2014, we already knew that the use of technology was at a point there that about 4.45 billion devices were already being used. 1.7 smartphones were there. So we knew that either we grasp the technology as parents and improve ourselves to communicate better with our kids, or we actually lose a generation and lose connecting and associating with that generation. And I'm speaking about centennials and millennials. And so we have this idea that we follow the business model. Many of you know about Guy Kawasaki, the pitch deck. We used all of that thing and pitched our company, had a business model, had a pro forma 5-year plan, revenue model, everything, you name it, we had it. But we also had diversity, we also had Muslimness, and we also had mompreneurs. And that was a strike against us. If I could share my journey, we had an interesting scenario where I could use all the tools there is to connect with the millennials outside, for instance, developers offshore. We were using all sorts of tools that they were comfortable with. As a mom of millennials, like I demonstrated a few minutes ago, I use all the tools that I can to connect with the youngsters. And what happened was that in the process of developing my company, I realized there are so many communication tools that corporations like yourself, if you are in a company, you can utilize to connect with those generations that are right now not connected. For instance, just a personal story that in order to connect with my grandparent, I would use a landline in India, or I would like to use a WhatsApp or Skype to connect with my parents. If I wanted to connect with my mentees or the youngsters that I connect with and mentor, I would use Messenger or WebEx or all these tools. Yet at the same time, I connect with some 30, 40-year-olds that are losing the tech jobs to not being able to use a basic app like Slack. And that's where my co-founder and I decided, you know what, let's just go ahead with our company, launch it, and look at what we can do. So here's a model of an app that we created. It's a mock-up. But as you can see, we put in a lot of effort. We did research, just like typical startup people do. Having that maturity helped us bring it to a point where it was a functional product. But at the same time, the advisors and the VCs would look at us and say, "Oh, but you guys are moms. You guys look like such typical moms." That was the feedback we always got when we pitched. And nobody cared about our experience, our product, or things we had. For example, we were also pitching to men and had ideas for male people to use this app. Yet at the same time, we found out most of the things that were used by kids were run by moms. And that was one of the reasons that I decided to pivot and use MyFam Technology News to educate community on learning better about this group. So I wanted to ask and share how you can help understand our generation, our community as Muslims. And I would say if you have a company, try to understand Muslims, their holidays, their culture, their food. Try to learn the Muslim celebrities. A lot of times people ask me, how do I do all this? How do I get all this done in one day? I live Islam and I live by the principles of Islam. And one of the quotes that I wanted to share with you guys was, on no soul does God places a burden greater than it can bear. And that's what keeps me going most of the time. And I appreciate you coming and listening to my little story. And hopefully, if you have any questions, we'll connect later on. Thank you.